Hello, my name is Olof Skoog. I am the European Union's ambassador to the UN here in New York. This is EU Talks. The goal of the UN is to improve the daily lives of citizens around the world. But the UN is a complicated place. In the EU Talks series, we will openly discuss the UN's work and how it delivers. Every month, EU Talks will engage with diplomats, UN officials, but also with experts, journalists, activists, creating what I hope will be a valuable space, especially for young people. Most people working in and around the UN represent a country or an organization. However, I believe that each of us also have a personal responsibility to find the solutions and to meet the expectations of people around the world. Along those lines, I will be asking some pretty hard questions to all of our guests. Welcome to EU Talks. Hello and welcome to EU Talks. Today we're going to discuss the state of our oceans. We know that it's not where it should be, and to discuss this today, I'm very proud that we have the ambassador of Portugal to the United Nations, Zacarias, and that's important because Portugal will host the UN Oceans Conference in the end of June, together with Kenya, but it will be in Portugal. As we all know, the situation of our oceans is not where it should be. And I think not everyone understands how bad that is for all of us. I was talking to someone the other day who told me that every second breath we take comes from the ocean. So it provides so much oxygen for us, apart from the fact that so many people live of the ocean. And today with us, we also have two young representatives of their countries, Jaala from Nauru and Diedra from Grenada. You're here in the United Nations on a fellowship program that allows for young diplomats such as yourself to be part of the General Assembly fellowship programs. And I'm proud to say that the European Union has also supported this program just precisely to ensure that countries that are maybe less represented in the United Nations can be here when we have very important discussions. So maybe, Anna, starting with you, because the conference is now kicking off in Lisbon. Can you tell us a little bit about your expectations and what you think we could achieve now, given the urgency to do something about the oceans?
Absolutely. There is no healthy planet without an healthy ocean. So we really need to start acting. This will be a very important forum for us to get together, to discuss, for different stakeholders to understand what's going on. Since 2017, we've learned a lot about the state of the oceans, about where we are, the difficulties that we are, and that we have, and we really need to rise up to the challenge. We will have discussions on the acidification of oceans, on the depletion of biodiversity, on the problems of water rising in many countries, in many areas of the world, and the connection between climate change and the ocean. We need to have good science to discuss this. We need to have data. We know by now many things about the ocean that we didn't know in 2017. So it's about time that we start this debate and that we fight also for really pledges that we hope that all the different stakeholders that come to the conference, governments, civil society, academia, and different organizations could come together and do their pledges of what are they going to do to save the oceans.
Jaala, you're from Nauru. That's a country who knows what it means to be surrounded by water and dependent on the ocean. What would be your expectations coming from Nauru? What do your people expect from the UN conference on oceans?
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for having me here. So first off, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jaala Jeremiah. I'm from Nauru. Back home, I'm in the Department of Climate Change and National Resilience. And right now I'm in New York under the PGA Hope Fellowship. So my expectation, and personally, for me coming from an island country, Our journey towards small victories with ocean-related issues has been a long one. So coming from a region where our livelihood is dependent from the ocean, and it will soon to be the thread of our existence, I'm just curious if you, Ambassador, can provide additional questions on what the conference plans to address regarding critical issues regarding marine biodiversity, ocean pollution, climate change, and how can oceans achieve below 1.5 degrees Celsius?
What we will expect is that there will be a general debate. So we will have heads of state and government coming from many countries, ministers, high-ranking officials. They will have to say what their pledge is for the oceans, what do they intend to do. And then besides that, we will have 8 interactive dialogues where we will deal with all these matters that you were mentioning. Sustainable fisheries, local communities, the issues of acidification of the ocean, questions related with sustainable development in connection with the oceans. So there will be a lot of elements that there will be discussed in an interactive dialogue with the participation of different stakeholders. And then there will be also 4 big events, separated events, that we decided to organize as a complement to the conference. One with youth, because we need to know what young people want to say about the oceans, about this connection with climate change. Then we need to have business people that could provide ideas for new business, for new types of food that we can develop, for new types of maritime transport that not so pollutant, and many other aspects that we need to discuss and develop. Then finally we have 2 other big events, one with local communities. We bring in different mayors, presidents of regional authorities, indigenous people that can come together bringing their experience, what they know about the ocean, and what solutions can they provide, because they have solutions too for this situation. And finally, there will be another event which is very important that connects the whole of the water cycle. We discussed the oceans, but we discussed the oceans also in connection of water, of drinkable water. We know it's a cycle. We know that we have to discuss this together.
Diedra, you're from Grenada. Tell us a little bit about your background and your interest in working with the UN and what you expect from the UN conference on oceans.
Thank you, Ambassador. My name is Diedra Sealey, and as you said, I'm from Grenada. I formerly worked at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Business and CARICOM Affairs of Grenada, and now as part of the fellowship, I work with the Permanent Mission of Grenada to the UN. So Grenada had been appointed to co-facilitate the production of the political declaration for the Oceans Conference. So based on following that, I think that the current moment is a really important opportunity for us to recoup some of the lost progress on SDG 14. And I think that, as Ambassador said, we have a lot of new science coming out with regard to oceans. So now is also an opportunity to build on that and really strengthen the science policy aspect of it going forward. I would like to ask Ambassador, though, since you mentioned, for example, that event on youth as well as local communities, these stakeholders have been mentioned in the political declaration. So I was wondering, how were they engaged ahead of the conference, and how do you see their participation? By that I mean indigenous peoples, youth, artisanal fisherfolk. How do you see their continued involvement being mainstreamed beyond the conference?
If I may, thank you very much, because that's also another very important question. But before that, let me say that we are organizing this conference in Portugal, but we are organizing it with our friends from Kenya. And at the same time, we had the privilege of having Grenada and Denmark working on a declaration that we hope that we will be able to approve at the end of the work of the conference. And in that declaration, indeed, we underline the relevance of indigenous communities. As I said, indigenous communities, local communities, they have knowledge that they can share with the people in government, with decision makers. Because now we know, now we have the knowledge. Since 2017, we had the IPCC report on oceans in 2000 that was put forward. We had the 2021 UN report on oceans. So we know much more. But we need to know how to act now. And we need to have the political will and the political drive that is needed to put action forward. And this is also where youth can come in, because they are the ones that will experience the difficulties that we are now taking on our shoulders, but they will be taken into the future if we don't act now. So this youth forum, we looked at it in a way that it's not just the young people saying what they want, it's bringing in innovative solutions. That's a forum on youth and innovation.
I was quite active when my countries, Sweden and Fiji, organized the first UN conference. This is, I guess, 5 years ago now. And we also felt that there was a lot of engagement around this, and it was new, and it was, a lot of people came in with very strong commitments. It's a bit sad to see that in spite of all that, we're still in a critical situation. I mean, we really, in very many areas, we are failing to do and to reverse the trend and protect our oceans. So that's why I think it's encouraging to hear that it isn't just there's an important political declaration, but you also demand that countries that come there, they come there with real pledges, real concrete action. And I'm glad to see that the EU is putting forward a lot of investments in to help local small-scale fishermen around the world. But also there's been some progress also on plastics, trying to now start negotiations. All countries have agreed that we should negotiate a treaty to ban plastics and harmful plastics. And of course there is this issue also of subsidizing fisheries, which unfortunately is done on a scale which really is harming the oceans and the biodiversity in oceans, etc. So there's a lot of good things going on, but certainly up to now not enough.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your answers. Personally, for me, it's very encouraging hearing those plans for the upcoming Oceans Conference. As a young diplomat myself and in the early stages of learning about multilateralism, this is really an exciting point, and I'm really excited to follow and see the outcome of Oceans Conference. Thank you.
Thank you, and we're going to need a lot of people like you, young women interested in being diplomats, in working in negotiations.
I want to say too that as far as I am informed, the European Union has also set up various platforms, Youth for Ocean platforms, that would help in preparations to hear your voices leading up to the conference, during the conference. And of course, this isn't just a conference, it's also very important to see how we follow up and increase our ambition and keep the dialogue and the conversation going with high ambition after that. So thank you very much, Anna. Thank you very much, Jaala. Thank you very much, Diedra, for your participation. This was another episode of EU Talks.